Hey, what's going on? Everyone, Supreme Kami over here. So I want to do a tier list, just based on my opinion over here of what I think about all the build project palettes we have right now. Because they are going to start, well, right now they're starting to do like another revived version of these build project palettes over here. So I just want to talk about which one I think should be the main focus, for example, because in terms of these build project palettes, they have their alteration period up for permanently. So but in terms of getting the actual build project pilots, you have to get them on a certain on like a specific week, for example. But in terms of these right here, they are gonna last for they still gonna last for a week span only, but they're gonna be pushing them out a lot more frequently, I would say, in a 4 week straight period. So this week only you can only get Domokashi, and then the following week you can get but not the links, and then a week after that you can get the Kira, and then the week after that you can start getting the Shin Asuka right there. So I just want to quickly talk about like how good they are. Each not really each individually. I'm gonna start things off by going over the rankings of what I think, me personally, how I feel about them, and then I'm gonna do a little bit more explanation of why did I rank them the way I did, right? But before we go into that, let's actually talk about how to really get these build project palettes over here. These build project palettes will cost you at least well, a bare minimum of 15,000 hardships. So that is equivalent to doing 10 multi summons on any given weeks that a build project palette is live right now. So for example, this week we are on a the burning material A over here. So we basically go over to any of these banners where you have to perform a multi summon, right? So any of these banners currently will be dropping the material A, so it's going to be literally anything of the sort. I believe does these drop or no? I don't think they do, right? Yeah, these does not. These actually drop something else, so yeah. So you just have to literally, you actually have to perform multi summons, so you cannot do single summon, right? If you do single summon, I don't think it would not grant you, for example. So that's why you need to watch out when you guys are like summoning for them. You have to be performing multi summons, and after that, up to you have done 15 or 10 multi summons, you can go over to the shop real quick, and then go over to the event blueprint, and then you will go over to just right there. Bam. So I only did around 5 multi summons this week around, so that's why I'll only have 5 materials. So you will need 10 originally, but unfortunately I don't think I will be getting Domo this time around again. He's literally the only build project pilots I have not gotten so far. I don't know, like it's not that I don't like Domo over here. It's just that I feel like his overall kit is just not that decent enough. Like the very first time when Domo came out, I couldn't get him. Well, not that I couldn't get him. I thought they're picking their in terms of like picking them up, their period is gonna be way longer than that. I actually sat on some material already, but like I missed out. But and then the second round when it came back, I was like, I don't really need her anymore because I have better build project pilots already. So that's why since then I still never got him. But so that's gonna be pretty much it. We can just kind of go over to the alteration page and talk about how I feel like how I will rank them right now. So in terms of the four that is going to be releasing within this next 4 weeks, I would say there are just not. I would just straight up say there are not going to be any of the sort that I feel like anyone should be paying attention to, just because of how they have basically aged, I would say. So I'm just gonna go from top of the list from what I have written down in the slide right now. So first of all, in my opinion, I feel like the newest build project pilot, the Mikasuki, I feel like he's definitely going to be place number one for me personally for melee build. So right now I'm going specifically to a melee build oriented right now. So after that we'll go over shooter, and then after that we'll go over defender and then supporter as well, because defender and supporter does not have that much option anyways, so I can just kind of talk about them a little bit more loosely. But in terms of melee, we have a ton. We have a tons of pilot that actually boost the melee category, so that's why I'm gonna get melee out of the way first, and then shooter build next, and then defender and supporter. I feel like Mika is definitely one of the better ones to be using right now. He has insane stats, just because of the fact that we have gotten the ability to get marks, right. Up to gears, this guy is looking at 88,008, and then with the melee defense of 56, 16. So if you add all these gear right now, Like originally, this is what we're looking at, right? 33,088 and then 2,160. But after you add all those gear, like this is monstrous. Portrait wise is definitely really good for a melee build, but definitely the flaw that I will see people complain definitely going to be restricted to only physical type melee or physical type EX skill or normal attacks and all your other stuff right there, and then locking this one specifically to a high firepower, which I don't think is the most um, ideal setup I would say. But I rate I like right now I rate him like above all the others right now, so that's gonna be my number one. So in terms of seconds over here, I feel like in terms of second place, we actually do have, I placed two on rank number two, but I would say in terms of them placing both of them on rank number two, there is going to be one that's going to slightly deviate over another. I will place Stella on second just because she is one of like, she is the original OG like really good build projects pilot right here, coming in at 81,000, and then look at that melee defense 5850. So she's definitely the better one we have seen like previously. Like all the other melee versions that came out, they were not good. She's definitely definitely the better one. Not only does she also boost infighter, I guess that was something I kind of missed for Mika as well. So in terms of Mika, why I pick him over, like why I place him in rank number one, because of his versatility, right? You can run Mika in both the infighter build and outrider build. So if any, for whatever reason, your trade is leaning towards like an infighter build, for example, you can definitely slap that on no problem. Or if you outrider, for example, for whatever occasion, Mika will definitely have your back supporter right there for sure. So that's why I kind of place him above the other one over here. In terms of Stella, she's doing two of both things right here. She's the defender pilot or license, if you will, and then she's also an infighter, right? So that's why I would say she's just a little bit more flooded in a way, just because of the fact that she's not offering the outrider. So in whatever cases your portrait does want to use the outrider, you will not be able to use her, right? So I feel like that's only her downside, but I'm definitely sure that there is enough portrait or enough like types of build that you can go strictly to an infighter or you can go strictly to an outrider, no problem. So that's what I kind of see right now. But if you have the option to go in between in and out, that's definitely a good sign, because you don't really have to worry too much about, let's say, your palette type. But that's why I placed Mika over Stella over here. But she's definitely good. If anyone has gotten her like prior to Mika and have Stella at a pretty good level, I feel like Stella would definitely be something that would age really well. In terms of portrait, it's going to be extremely generalized as well. It's only asking you to run high mobility, which is fine. It's not anything that bad. Like in terms of the portrait, I feel like is better than the Mika version, because Mika not only is it restricted to a word tag, it is restricted to a physical weaponry only. So that's why in terms of portrait wise, you can kind of argue that Stella is a little bit better. But I'm placing her rank number two. But alongside with that, just slightly, I would say lower, is going to be Montag over here. Montag is good. I feel like the stat wise over here does not really explain for it too much, but you can kind of say that it does have pretty extremely high armors over here. So in a perspective of, alright, we're running this unit right here, or Montag pilot in a, let's say, what is it? There's one arena, I think it's Armor Mode Arena, where if you want insane amount of armor wise, I feel like Montag is going to be able to provide that service no problem. But then again, in terms of like going for a specific arena week, that's a little bit too out of budget. It's too expensive to invest into a build project pilot, for example. But that's why I'm gonna place Montag on the second, like just right underneath Stella, just because he's also, like, you can say they're both the same type of deal over here. This one's gonna be an infighter and an outrider as well, so more of like an opposite type of deal over here. But I would say the portrait for the Montag is definitely not the best compared to Stella, because Stella, you can say more or less like a universal type boosting. This one only offers the speed attribute, so if you guys do happen to have a P type or S or a T attribute type, you will not be able to get that benefit. So that's why I placed it just slightly lower. I feel like that melee defense really definitely makes it for it. So this one is actually pretty decent. So in terms of what I placed for dirt, there's actually two that I have kind of placed in dirt right now. I am gonna pick the Sessa FCA, the ESL version over here. He is one of the early type, like still one of the early prototype, I would say, that they were specifically boosting back parts rate. So that's my only flaw about the Sessa FCA in that regard. In regard to the staff with this guy over here, it's not the most impressive. Only coming in at 7,961, and then even that melee defense is not too much where you can kind of take advantage of, like, let's say the 4-star conversion gear from your melee defense, whatever that 40% up added to your melee attack stat. This one is not as high as what we have seen from Mika, Stella, or even Montag, so that's why I kind of place this one just a tad lower. But the advantage part of having this pile over here is the vortex that you're getting. Pro tag is definitely good. That is going to be excellent portrait or vortex using to be using it on, let's say your melee build, obviously. So pair that up with high mobility. So this one is good. To this day, I feel like it's still pretty decent right now. This one is definitely going to be easy to satisfy. It's going to be a double EX skill power boosting with when Pro tag is active, EX skill power boosted by 30%, and the back part EX skill boosted by 35%. So definitely a versatile, EX skill to be using or portrait to be using nonetheless. But it's just this part right here, only specific to a back part, can be a little bit more demoralizing if you don't have any, let's say, back part EX skill in that regards. But that's why I'm gonna place SFC 8 on that rank 3 currently. What I think is going to be right after that, or alongside with that, is definitely going to be the Shard Assemble. I feel like Shard Assemble, in terms of this palette wise, is trying to do the same thing, but I feel like he is a little bit worse. Just because I don't like. You let me know how many people, like how many of you guys out there are actually running a Xian war tag. This is a extremely niche war tag, I will have to say, because like we don't really have too many good representation, right? It's not that the tag is bad itself, it's just that we don't have that many you can say involvement into that war tag in terms of like really good parts and all that. In terms of him, right? This one is also going to be another dual type pilot. That is something I forgot to mention for the Cessna FCA ESL version. These two are both in and out fighters, so that's why although they're really good, they can change their playstyle depending what kind of portrait you guys are looking at. But I feel like this with Xian War Tag Weather, I kind of lowered that by just slightly. And you also have to be using this on a Xian activated ground source, so that's why I'm just like this one is not that well done, I'll have to say. And then only this one is going to be specific to a power type attribute. So yeah, so that's going to be my concern there as well. So these two EX or portrait wise over here. But definitely a pretty high stat one over here, coming at 7,800, and also have some pretty respectable shot attack as well. So if for whatever reason you want to use this one in a shot based build, pretty sure that's no problem as well. But so up next we have this. We have probably one of the recently released one. This is the Cessna FC innovator type over here. In terms of this guy over here, you can see that the actual melee attack is top the roof currently, but you're not gonna get damage compensation for, like, let's say melee defense right there, only 2,000. But I would say the most disappointing factor is actually the first portrait. So the first portrait will only activate when you guys are fighting against a type neutral. So this one is pretty hard to manage. Like I think if you're going to, let's say, anywhere that has multiple enemy, I don't think all of them can be type neutral or type disadvantage to you, or you having a type advantage over another. So that's why I say in terms of these portrait is not the best if I have to put it in that way. So that's why I kind of put this one at like 4th place, and the last one at least. In terms of what I placed to the last one is gonna be the Domokashi, obviously, just because he's not that spectacular anymore. So just pretty unfortunate, I would say. The portrait only specific to arm is like come on, man. But going over to the shooter build over here, I feel like in terms of the shooter build, you have a neck and neck tie already. But I'm just gonna go over and do a little bit of an explanation as well. I feel like Stella definitely has the better stat of any of the build project shooter type powers over here. Just because she's coming in at 81,000 or 8,112, and you're also packing 4K defense, so that is gonna translate really well when you have that 4-star change gear. No. That 4-star change gear, that is gonna affect it by extremely a lot. But in terms of portrait, it's gonna be double shooting power boosting wise over here. But this one is gonna be limiting. Like it's gonna set the tone already to being a Gundam type. You have to use that website right there. But it's just the unfortunate part that they actually slap on high firepower as well. So that's kind of take away. You can say the advantage of that already. And Stella Rolla is currently the only build project pilot that have access to, let's say, supporter type, let's say job license over there. But if you guys do want to, let's say, play supporting type role, I will say you don't really need Stella. I think she's a little bit more of like an overpriced build project or pilot to be getting, I would say. But definitely with all the with all these right here, I will want to say that I'll give her that just slightly above let's say Graham Acre. But now let's go over the Graham Acre right now. In terms of Graham Acre, right, I see high potential for Graham Acre like back in the day, like maybe a few months ago, many months ago. This one definitely has the better like the vortex set if you compare that directly to, let's say, Rolla, just because of the fact that she boosts high firepower or her vortex. It's like Gundam type and high firepower already. So that's why it's not like the best out of the set right here. And keep in mind, this one is going to be an in and out shooter. Well, middle and long shooter, excuse me. We're not talking about melee anymore. We're talking about shooter based. I feel like Graham is going to allow player to switch back and forth when Trade Desire wants to be using a, let's say, middle shooter, or in some instances you want to be using it as a long shooter. So I feel like Graham's definitely right up there alongside with like Rolla. That's why I kind of place them kind of together in the list. But going over the third, I feel like Uso is probably the better candidate. Just because although the portrait is not the best, with the first portrait you are limited to only physical or a beam weaponry or any beam skill, for example. In that regards, I don't see this one being performed too well, just because of this one having like a lock to a beam weaponry, so that's not gonna be good. Second portrait wise, like they were actually doing pretty good with like taking away, let's say, boosting a specific part, but they have decided to remove that, and it's gonna be hard, right? Just this one only to that back part, like the other ones, right? The other one are just a little bit more generalized. They're a little bit more easier to just kind of work around with, and like Uso over here. So that's why I kind of place him right at number 2. But in terms of the other one, the one we have for the next week, for example, right? It's gonna be Kira. Kira hasn't aged that well. I would say he's still pretty good, but he's only gonna be supporting let's say a long shooter over here. So if you guys are using any middle shooter part, you're just not going to be able to just use it, right? And this one over here, this one is a pretty respectable Wartech back then when they made this over here. Like I said again, they're kind of forcing that leg part to having like the most unique skill boosting, which if anyone is not doing that, that's gonna be pretty much of a waste, for example. So that's gonna be pretty much it. So I placed Kyria on the last spot just because of like the the worst set tag, or even like the pilot like the job license we're looking at. So that's gonna be pure, like basically my rankings for your demo over here. If we just talk about the other specifics, so let's say someone is always trying to do a dual type build, I would say Benjamin is definitely gonna be a good case as well, because he actually boosts middle shooter and then output as well. So Benjamin was able to take advantage and just get a little bit of both at the same time. So I would say in terms of Benjamin, I'll definitely not alter them right now. Just because of the fact that this one does have a split, unfortunately. So if you guys are using a middle shooter job, for example, the second portrait is not going to activate at all. So that's just going to be a little bit unfortunate. So more of like a vice versa. If purely using it for like the shooter base, you're just not going to be able to get that outfitter job right there, unfortunately. But we do have a better one. I would say that the Shin Nazca is definitely a pretty good dual type ish, project wise over here. This again are gonna be outfitter and middle shooter, but the portrait is definitely a lot more solid. In terms of the first portrait, doesn't want you to like any all power, so shooting, like shooting melee and even like some other like E skill, we should be able to take advantage of that. So that's good in that regards. But I don't know why this one is only boosting the back part again, so that's gonna be the unfortunate factor of that. But all the other one is just kind of pretty much like explanatory already. They kind of talk about that Montag is gonna be deeper into it. You're right, deeper in as well, right? And then in terms of Rolla, she's gonna be our more like the supportive type role over here. So that's gonna be pretty much how I kind of rate them. For melee, it's gonna be Mika, Stella, Montag, ESL, and then Char, and then followed by Assassinate, Innovator type, and then Domakashi last. So that's gonna be my ranking in terms of, let's say, melee. In terms of shooter, we don't really have too many good options right off the bat, so Rolla's definitely going to be like the high priority right now. But in terms of Uso, I don't think he's that much impressive either. And then Kira, he's aged, but that is just going to be purely based on my opinion. I do want to know that in the comment section. What do you guys think about these build project pilots over here? Do you guys think they're a little bit overpriced? Doing 5 or 10 multi summons in order to just be able to get enough material for that. I do want to know that down in the comment section below. But with that being said, that should be pretty much it for this video over here, and then I'll catch you guys all on the next one.